Okay, so Mishnah. In Choshishin Shem Gira Cholda Mibayis Lebayis Mimakim Lamakim. So we don't care, we don't have a chashash that this Cholda, the weasel, the Gemara changes between a Cholda and an Akbar. An Akbar is a mouse, I guess, and a Cholda is some type of weasel. Don't really know what a weasel is, except from cartoons. But seemingly something like the weasel eats the food, but the Akbar leaves over. Something like that. So we don't have a worry that maybe the Cholda dragged the chametz from house to house. So here we have a sofek. What's a sofek? You have a sofek, he took it. And even if, sofek, he didn't take it. And even if he took it, maybe he ate it all. So you have chametz, you put it away somewhere, so from house to house, that your next door neighbor, maybe the cholda brought in the chametz, and even maybe he didn't. Even if you say that he brought it in, well, maybe he ate it. So you have a sofek, so therefore you don't have to do any. So the im came ichatz lachatzer meir leir ein ledavar sof. Now the Sa'if of the Mishnah seems to have a svara here of ein ledavar sof. And what exactly is this svara? Ein ledavar sof, okay, like, so what? We really, our cleaning for Pesach is ein ledavar sof. We're looking for every drop of crumbs, and you're cleaning. This guy was telling me he was cleaning the vacuum cleaner. The people he was working at, he hoovered up the chametz in it to clean the vacuum cleaner. So we have like this idea that like we're not cleaning for Pesach. We're just going completely insane. So that's the ein ledavar sof, and here we have the Mishnah saying clearly ein ledavar sof. Don't be so worried about chametz. It's true. There could be. You can bring makom lamakom and chatzor lachatzer and leir. Ein ledavar sof is no. Don't worry about it. Now, if it's ein ledavar sof, then what's this got to do with shema gira cholda mibayis lebayis? So again, the svara of the Reisha is very different to the svara of the Seifa. So there's a big machlokas here, whatever, but the simplest answer is that the Seifa is going that even if you see it, the Reisha, the sofek is where you don't see it. Just stam, you're saying, but even if you see a cholda running away, it has to be a cholda, because a cholda is you're expecting the cholda to eat the food. So therefore, if you see the cholda, even then you don't have to do a bedika because of the svara of ein ledavar sof. But you don't need this svara of ein ledavar sof in the Reisha where you didn't see it, because since you didn't see it, it's a sofek. Sofek is motzei. So Gemara taima de lo chazina de shakol, because you didn't see it. The reason that there's no chashash because you didn't see it taken. If you saw it taken, there is a chashash, and you have to do a bedika. Say it ate it. Milot, we have a Mishnah, the Madura ha'akum, when the goy live, it's tame. Why is it tame? Because the goyim they knock up a girl, and the girl wants to have a abortion, and then he buries the aborted matter in his house. So therefore it has the din of tuma. V'kama yisheb b'mador v'hiyeh h'mador ztoric bedika. So how long does the goy have to live in the house before the house is the chashash that there is a nefilim there, and you have to do a bedika for mason? 40 days. So 40 days is the time that it takes for the baby to form, and I think a baby matter that's less than 40 days is not metame. The FOP she'ein lo isha. So even though he's not married, so you'll say since he's not married, he's not having babies, but the goy where he's choishish for znus. The kol makom shecholda v'chazir yecholin lehoylech ein tzarich bedika. So you don't have to search for mason anywhere that the cholda and the chazir are able to go into, because if there's a nafel there, then the cholda and the chazir, the pig and the weasel, they'll eat the basar, since they're going to eat the basar. So therefore, we don't have a chashash. So therefore, this idea of neima echilte is like the idea of vadai echilte. It's really It's again, this is nothing to do with the sveka. This is just saying, no, he ate it. We have a chazaka that he ate it. And we see here, by the din of the chazir and the cholda in the mason, that there's a chazaka, he ate it. Because he ain't ztoric bedika, the halacha is ain't ztoric bedika, because there's a chazaka, he ate it. Amar Rabbi Zera, lo kasha, haba basar v'haba lechem. By bread, we don't know that the cholda is going to eat everything. However, by the basar, for sure the cholder is going to eat the basar, but he might leave over some of the lechem. So if you go to an all-you-can-eat bakery, maybe you'll leave some bread over, but if you go to an all-you-can-eat steakhouse, then there's nothing left. But basar lo mishayra, but lechem mishayra. So he'll leave over from the lechem, he won't leave over from the basar. Amar Rava, hi mai. So hi mai is like what he talked. This doesn't make any sense. Bishlema hasam emor hu emor lo have emor lo have. So by over there, you have the case of the nafel. Maybe there was a nafel. Maybe there was no nafel. Ve'im timsi lo emor have. There was a nafel emor achalte. So Rav is here using his fake. But over here, how can you say that it is a how can you say that he for sure ate it? Because you saw him do it, and it's have a sofek. The vadai. So what's the sofek? The sofek is maybe he ate it. The vadai is he for sure brought it in. So you see a cholda take a chometz, run into a house. Now that cholda is in the house with the chometz. Maybe he ate it, but for sure he brought it in. So ein sofek yotzi midei ve'ein sofek motzei midei vadai. Now this is a din. Again, it's a well-known din. Ein sofek yotzi midei vadai. So the question is so ein sofek yotzi midei vadai means that the din is we have to be boidik the house. So in this case, you have to be boidik the house. So in the case we're asking the question from ein storic bedika, where there's the basar. So when ha chazina deshakol chayshinenu boy bedika. So we have to do a bedika where you saw it because ein sofek yotze midei vadai. So the question is, why does this house need a bedika? So there's two ways to look at the shayla. One is that you have you've cleaned the house. The house is now as a cheskes bodok. So therefore, there's a chazak in the house. So therefore, you don't need to have a bedika because the cheskes bodok. No, it's a cheskes bodok. So on whatever you on whatever night you go check your chometz. So therefore, now you don't need to check it again because there's a chazaka that it's clean. So now you see the cholder run in, and now you have a cheskes iser in the house. So since you have a cheskes, now the house is maxik that's got chometz in it. Maybe he ate it, but that maybe doesn't be motzei from the cheskes. So the cheskes of the house is churned into that it needs to be boidek for the chayfetz. So it's like an iser there's an iser chayfetz where there's now osir chometz in the house. There's a chazaka that there's an iser chayfetz in the house, and therefore you have to do bedika in the house. Again, you don't have to find anything. Even if the cholder goes in with the chometz, you don't have to find anything. Maybe he ate it. But do you have a chazaka that you've got the iser in the house, and therefore because of the chayfetz, you got to go searching after this chayfetz. So another way to see it is that the chometz is an iser deraisa. Since chometz is an iser deraisa, therefore you go the chumrah. And really, maybe he ate it. That's enough. But because this is an iser deraisa, so therefore you have to be boidik. And we'll see nafkaminas, but what do you think? Because again, obviously, a big nafkamina, according to the second way of learning, is that if it's the rabbanon, so then there's no such din of ein sofek yotze midei vadai. It's only in the case of since it just basically means ein sofek yotze midei vadai basically means we go sofek deraisa, we go l'chumra. So how are you learning? How are you learning this Gemara, this case of the bedika? I mean, do you think that you should do a bedika if the holder runs into a bodek house with chometz? So now the Gemara asks the question: Ve'ein sofek motzei b'nei vadai. So all these, everyone is saying, "Oh yes, this is a din poshet." Well, the Gemara doesn't seem to think so. V'hat tanya, chaver shemeis. The haniach magudu mali perus. So chaver is a guy who's trusted on meiser, and he dies and he leaves like a fresh pile of grain. A goyre, and he's done his threshing. The afilohim b'nei yoma, even if it's that day. The nikarin hein shehayom nit marchu, so that he finished off the pile of grain. He smoothed the grain today. It's nikar. Harehen becheskas mutukanin. That they're a chazaka that they've had the meiser taken. You don't need to take meiser from it anymore. Ahaka the vadai tevel, for sure it's tevel. A honey peri, those fruits for sure tevel. The sofek if it's moisture because he died that day, so it's only sofek if he did it, and therefore we say that they're becheskas mutakin. So therefore, even though we should say this house, it's still becheskas kashrus, becheskas boduk, even though it's sofek. The sofek lo musharin. So the sofek maybe he did the meiser, maybe he didn't, and we see the sofek and motzei b'nei vadai. So this Gemara is clearly saying that. So just the Rashi here, vadai tevel, the ha nigruma malachtan. So once it's nigruma malachtan, and roy penei habayis is fitting to be brought into the house. V'chol shem tevel aleihem. And now once it gets it's roy to see the house, then it gets the shem tevel, and there's meiser in them. Mishash roy penei. Once it sees the house, then it is it's chayiv in meiser vadai, and it's only sofek if he made iser and meiser on it. Because roiv is roiv the meiser hem miad. So the roiv of them again, roiv chazaka is like a hanhaga, roiv is a bearer. So we're saying that since roiv chaverim do it miad, therefore it's got a chazaka, so the hanhaga. So kodem sheinuchem mitachas, so it doesn't come out of his hand without it being checked. So Hasam, we answer vadai v'vadai. It's not sofek vadai, it's vadai v'vadai. The vadai meiserin, for sure it's meisered. It's not a sofek meiser, for sure it's meiser. Good Rebbe China chazusa. Chazusa chazaka al chaver she'ein motzei mitachas yado davar she'ein mutakin. This is called a vadai, even though it's a chazaka. It's called a vadai. Now v'iboi zema, we have a different answer here. Sofek v'sofeku. It's not a sofek tevel. It's only sofek tevel. Dilma mikara emor delo tevle. Maybe it's not originally tevel. Because Rabbi Yoshia, like Rabbi Yoshia says, I'm a Rabbi Yoshia ma'aremadem al tevuaso, that you can do tricks on your tevua, on your grain, umachnisa b'motz shelo kedei sheyeh behemto ocheles, so that you bring it in while it's still in its husk, in order that the behemoth will eat it, because the humans don't eat the grain while it's in the husk, but the behemoths do. And therefore, it's only when it's man food is it chayiv in meiser. Therefore, as it stays as behemoth food, then it is potter from meiser, and it's potter in a meiser. So that's the end of that case. We have two answers there. That it's a vadai v'vadai, or it's a sofek v'sofek. It was not called that the sofek was motzei midei vadai. Rashi goes through all the din here, and the din of meiser, that your behemoth is going to eat a filo keva. The chosman she'ein shame gorno shel tevel elav eina oiser. So as long as it's not called your goren, because that's not for you, it's for your behemoth, it's also bechilas arai. But kol achilas behemoth lo gozer olei. So they didn't have. There's no. If it's a behemoth, they weren't gozer on it. So this Tosfos. So the makomikom have a vadai tevel me derabanan. So even though see deraisa, when you bring it in through the when you bring it in with the husk, it's potter deraisa, but you're still chayav the rabbanon. Says Taisus le'inin echilas keva afilo chachnisa b'mutz shelo kadamar kadei shetahä behemas ocheles mashma aval hu atzmo aser, but he himself, he's not allowed to eat it. So kadei echilas, so his behema, but if he has a echilas keva, even though he brought it in for his behema, he's chayav midrabanan. Betosefta tanya maisila in the perak base the hiknas lebais shoivlin lasos mehen isa oichlin mehen arai. That's only arai upotter. So if a human has a nechilas keva from it, even though he brought into his thoughts, he's chayav the rabbanon. Gati sofek motzei midei vadai the rabbanon. Ashevahu becheskas mutukanim gavi chametz amai lo ati sofek motzei midei vadai bedika the rabbanon. So Tosfos here says it's bedika is the rabbanon. The midaraisa bebitul ba'al masagi. So again, firstly, Tosfos, we had this before, and we'll have it again. But Tosfos holds that the bedika is the rabbanon. Why did we need bedika on the first daf? Because maybe you'll come to eat it. I mean, so elsewhere that's a chashash rachok, so it's only a din rabbanon that you need the bedika. But Rashi holds that it's at least a tzad of deraisa of bali roy bali motzei. Now. So Tosfos is asking here again. So by the chometz, why does the sofek not motzei midei vadai? Because the bedika is rabbanon. From the so why do I need to do the bedika to rabbanon? Because the raisa the bittul ba'alma sagi. This is only a din rabbanon. So amari the matnisan iri b'shelo bitlo the havi vadai the raisa. Tosfos' first teretz here is saying that the whole din of sofek motzei midei vadai taka works where it's a din rabbanon, but when it's a din deraisa, sofek deraisa l'chumra. Again, this is the second tzad which we spoke about. That what's the whole din of ein sofek motzei midei vadai is this idea of deraisa l'chumra, and therefore if it's a rabbanon, therefore there's no issue. Now, at this point, what exactly is Tosfos saying here? The case is like this. You see a cholder take chometz. Let's say you have two cholders, right? Two cholders, both with chometz, go into two different houses. House A and House B. Both House A and House B are both, they did their bedika last night, and in the morning the cholder goes in with the food, and you saw the cholder go in with the food. So you ask the owner of House A, did you do bittul on your chometz? And he says yes. And you ask the owner of House B, did you do bittul on your chometz? And he says no. So what are the dinim of the two houses? According to Tosfos here, so the first guy, since he did bedika, says Tosfos, it's only a din rabbanon now. Since it's a din rabbanon, therefore sofek motzei midei vadai. Therefore, he doesn't have to do a bedika. So the second guy, since he didn't do a bedika, since he didn't do bittul, now he has to. He has to do bedika. He has to do a bedika because it's a deraisa. Now, what's the obvious eitzah for the second guy? Just do bittul now. What's the point in doing a whole bedika? Just bittul now. When you bittul it now, it's now a din rabbanon. Since it's a din rabbanon, sofek motzei midei vadai. What's the problem? Now this is what basically the Pnei Yeshua is asking here. So Tosfos katei shetahä alkan l'shoynai v'lekel l'meimor to bitlu achshav. Right. So don't say he can bittul it now. That means he should be able to bittul now. Only don't say, I will say, bittul it now. What's the problem? Demikum mokum. Kevin de achshav hu chashash isra chametz deraisa memela de lo mahani nami bittul greater. It's not, so bittul by itself is not going to rather than bedika anis beer. Okay, so here is a So Pnei Yeshua was saying that basically it's not going to help to do bittul now. So once it's too late. So this idea is brought out in the. It's very interesting here. The shutz of Rebbe Kiva. The whole thing is definitely it's kedai the riddle. Shalis bechli cheres yishanim. So you've got the old cheres that are mixed up, and they weren't used for 12 months, and you don't know if they're kli bas or kli chalav. So you have all these cheres. Obviously, cheres you can't kasher. It comes out basically it's fine. In a verb, sofek iser shenit arev ba'acherim. So you have a sofek iser. So the sofek iser because you don't know if it's chalav or basar. So you might have, and then you have a sofek if you're doing. Maybe you're using chametz when you use. Let's say you just designate the plate for chalav. Maybe taka it's a chalav plate anyway, so therefore there's no isra there. V'hu davar choshev, af the davar Torah bottle, b'kumakom lo needed ne ba sofek derabanan. So it's a choshev, even though that the davar Torah was bottle, it's not called a nisa derabanan. Lekula. Kevin de hasafek ba'atzmo have a sofek deraisa. Since the whole sofek itself, which started off as a sofek deraisa, Barakmi said gilgul habitul have a derabanan. So that it comes, so there's like a gilgul. It moved on from being the Issa deraisa. It became after a gilgul into a derabanan. That's like called a gilgul deraisa or something like that. So the iker isser is a deraisa, and if it megalgels into rabbanan, he still has the chumras of a deraisa. So the
reason it megalgels into rabbanan is just because all the time is lapsed, and you don't.
No, so here, I don't know if you're talking about the Rebbe Kiva or our case, but our case is that we have a sofek deraisa because he didn't do bittul. Now he does bittul. Even though now it's an issa derabanan, that's an issa derabanan. There's a magalgel from an issa deraisa.
Right, but what about the Rebbe Kiva Eiger case?
Well, the issa deraisa is chalav v'basar, and then you have eno ben yomo is the rabbanan from a ben yomo, which is deraisa.
Like way past the ben yomo at this point.
Yeah, 12 months has a different din as well in the cheres, but Avhina bishul tarnigola sofek treifa bechli v'nishtana hekli. So you cook a chicken and sofek treifa in the kli, and then you wait at 24 hours. So bezeh kosov ha-maharibal la'aser. So even though now it's a sofek to rabbanan because it's after 24 hours, so therefore that's the maribal is, he says, is aser mashmos devarav af below noida hasofek alacher meisla eis kemoshe katav hajachkam. Now this is just called the dina de hamaribal, but it's basically, so the din of the maribal is this idea of where you have a gilgul from a deraisa to a derabanan, that it stays as a sofek as if it's a sofek deraisa. So going back into the tosfos, so tosfos starts off with the deraisa because Ari b'shelo bitlo. So since he has shelo bitlo, even if it's a deraisa, therefore we don't ain't sofek yosemite vadai. Therefore, even if he's to mevatel now, it's not going to help because of the din of the marival. That's basically the Rashi prokim on this one. And over here, all oimeri the had kamar hooray hen becheskas mutakanim. So now we're talking now in chazakas, which is on the chefetz, which is the first idea which he spoke about, why the sofek law yotzimidei vadai, because if the cheskas on the chefetz hainu bahak the law chazu, you didn't see it ela lebehema. The had parach b'menachos. So the had parach is going on a different point here, but here are the ikers that you have. Basically, the two ideas here in the tosfos. The first one is that it's only in Issa deraisa. The second one is coming on the chazaka. So since we have a chazaka of Isser on the chametz going into the house, you need a vadai to take out of that chazaka. Again, once you have a chazaka, if you have a woman, she's a cheskes aser to you, because she's either married or she's a nida, so you need a vadai in order to take out of that chazaka. If she's married sofek gerusha is not going to take her out of that chazaka. You need to have a vadai to take her out of that chazaka. So once you have the cheskes on the house, it's boduk. So then, now you vadai got the chametz inside the house. Since the chametz inside the house, therefore you need a vadai to take it out. So if you have a kid with a cookie running into the chametz, into the Pesach kitchen, you're going to need a vadai in order to cut otherwise. So therefore, that's why you need a bedika. But again, that's different to the first terrace, which is going on deraisa, and that's why it's a sofek. So the Gemara asks again, yeah, v'ein sofek yosem midei vadai v'hatanya. Amar Rav Yehuda Maisa b'shefschol shel matzik echad. So you have the this matzik is like some strong dude, like a mafia guy, and his servant in Rimon, which is a place, and she threw a nafel into a boar. So she had a fetus that she threw into a pit. And the cohen came and he looked into the pit to know if it was male and if it was female. And the Maisa came before the Chachamim and they made it tahor. They said that the cohen was tahor because the cholda and the bardus motzei and sham, because we have this bardulus, the cholda. We don't really have, these are undomesticated animals. So unless you go to a zoo that keeps these type of things, no one really knows what they are. It could be like a ferret or something. I don't know. Anyone keep ferrets? So the ferret and the cholda, they would have eaten the nafel. The hahaka vadai, she threw it in, and sofek they took it away. Sofek lo, maybe they took it or ate it, and sofek they didn't. By that time, but kati sofek motzei midei vadai. Again, there's another question on it. So lo temish hatila nafel labor ela ema shehepila kamin nafel labor. That'd be sofek v'sofek. So don't say that she put a nafel in there, but say it was like a nafel. So this is like a nafel. We don't know if it's actually a nafel or not. And therefore, it's sofek v'sofek. And therefore, v'halideim zacherhu im nekeva hi ketani. So that the cohen was looking to see if it was a zachor or an nekeva. So here, just the Rashi, the cohen, he was a korov, or he was from the family, and v'shlochu shem lahakid le'imo ma'ativo. So what is this? The nafel. The tavchem ben tuma v'tahar zachar lemei tuma v'tahar is nekeva. So when you have a miscarriage, so then the zachar has a different time period of tameh and tahor than the female, and therefore you needed to know what it was. So the cohen was sent in order to do it, and he looked in. So then he said that he wanted. So if it's a sofek nafel, so therefore why are we saying that he was looking in to know if it was a zachar or a nekeva? Achikamar tonight im ruach hapila im nafel hapila. If it was like just a bag of wind, or it was a real nafel. If you want to say it was a nafel, you want to see if it's zachar or a nekeva. Or you can also say it's a vadai. Vadai, kaven to cholda borders mitzvah. Since they're common there, he's vadai garahu at that time. So maybe that they leave over sometimes, but for sure they would have dragged it away. So therefore, when he looked over, there was for sure nothing there. Now this tosfos has a big din. I'm just going to look at the end here. V'oimer ri, the cohen shetehaya. This cohen is an idiot. He shouldn't have looked over. Dafilu im ne'emar shel gaver tehaya. Even if we want to say it was his wife's, and therefore he was a korov, and therefore the cohen. Again, the cohen has to be metame to his. It's maklokas if he can be metame to his keruvim, or he has to be metame to his keruvim. So here, if we're going on the idea that he has to be tami on the keruv, on his keruv, therefore this is his son. So even if you want to say that it was his son, the kohen zeh korov haya, lo haya lo litma, he shouldn't have been metame himself. Now again, it's mutter anyway. If it's a korov, you're mutter to be. Even if you say you don't have to, because some people say the kohen should touch the mace. Because is it that you have to be metame to the mace, or just you're allowed to be? So even if you're just allowed to be, so here, Toysa says he's an idiot. He shouldn't have done it. Well, why shouldn't he have done it? His motzei derisive for him to be metame here, even if it's his son. To Amrina b'toyrus kohanim. That's the on Leviticus, the Sifra on Leviticus. To ein cohen metame lenafila. To dumia de ave ve'imo be'inyan. So that the cohen cannot be metame to the nefo because he needed like his father and his mother. B'nei kaima. They have to be viable. So therefore the nefil, for sure, the nefil is not a ben kaima, so therefore it's not like his father. So even though he can be metame to his father, he can't be metame to a nefil because not b'nei kama. Now here, that's all kind of like okay, and then here Tosfos just goes, "V'od dukan lo hayetzarech hameis." Now, what's this v'od doing here? What's this Tosfos saying in this v'od? V'od dukan lo hayetzarech hameis. Here, it's not for the ztoric of the mace. So what? Here is that even if it's not a nefil, you still also for him to metame. So even if it was mutter, even if it was a father type person, it's mutter for him to be metame too. He still, in this case, since it's not the ztoric mace, therefore he's not allowed to be metame to the mace. So the question comes, where if a cohen is allowed to be metame to somebody, is he allowed to be metame at a time where it's not the tzorich hameis? So the Shulchan Aruch, kol elu shemetame lehem, everyone who the kohanim are allowed to be metame, afilu shelo letzorich. There we go. Clearly, the Shulchan Aruch is poskening not like the Tosfos. Even if it's not the tzorich of the mace, the cohen is allowed to be metame. So let's say the cohen is a shomer for the mace, or the cohen is dealing with the levaya. All these things are covered in mace and for the mace. He's allowed to do these things, but just stam to metame himself when it's not the tzorich mace. So then, or let's say he's in a room that's metame because tuma soiho because of the mace. Is he allowed just to be there stam if it's not the tzorich mace? So the Shulchan Aruch Poskins, that's no problem. V'yesh Aimrim de davka l'tzorich, and there is the shita that it has to be davka l'tzorich. So the Hakav l'sfara harishayna afilu meis lo meis b'Shabbos. It's sure you can't bury him that day. You're allowed to be tuma to me betame him and to shomer him in order that he won't be mutal b'zuyin. So he says that's only to the first one, this idea of the meis bezoyin. But nachon lahachmir kasvar harachrayna shelo letumas rak letzorach kavura v'lahavi lo aron v'tachariksin. So then this is the shem of the Tosfos Shoshan. So basically saying that it's a that nachon lahachmir kasvar harachrayna. So so basically me'ikar din. For sure, a cohen can be metame shelo letzorach, and the Ramah here is being machmir and saying, if you're a bal nefesh, whatever that, he doesn't use those words because he doesn't live in Modi'in Elit, but a bal nefesh will be machmir like these svaras, and only for the tzorach of the mace. Now the Bira Gro. Yesh Aimrim, this is I think it's the Yud Daled here. Davka l'tzorech. Says the Gro, Tosfos Pesachim Tes Amud Aleph B'Shefscho Ubenida. So the Iker place, where did the Gro find such a shita? He found it in Tosfos, and Tosfos is like the only shita that says this. No one says this except for the Tosfos. Now the Aruch Shulchan here in Ches, V'hinei Torah Ketzav b'Peshav v'Tamei bein l'tzorach bein shelo l'tzorach. That's the Torah until the Yistom Hagolel. So once they start throwing dirt on the grave, then the cohen isn't allowed to be metame anymore. So that the Yistom Hagolel is when the kever is closed. Once the kever is closed, again the cohen cannot go back to his father's grave, on his yurt side or anything like that. He's not allowed to be metame to the mace once the grave is sealed up. You put the body in the ground, and once you start putting any type of dirt on top, bang, you're not allowed anymore. That's the Yistam Agolo. And he didn't bring the Day Acheres. He didn't bring any of the das. It's just your bein l'tzorich, bein shlolosor. Again, that's the Iker din. V'zem isbara mi smachus pechdalet. Smachus, that's the Gaonic. Ba'achai meis sheba acher stimus agula ratza lehitima. So this guy came after the gula. He wanted to be tamayim. They wouldn't let the chachamim. The chachamim wouldn't let him meklal to koidim ze mitamay filu shelo l'tzorich. Because before then you could do it even without need. It's only Rabbeinu Habeitz Yosef Besvaro Hagadol. So the Beis Yosef on the Torah Hevi Mitrumas Adeshen. So the Trumas Adeshen brings this Tosfos that the motzei katav gekosvet the ein letumas rak letzorach hames ein sham. So basically, he's saying the way he's explaining is that the Torah is saying there's no problem, and the Beis Yosef is just bringing out of left field this Trumas Adeshen is bringing the Tosfos the chumrah. Ani tamei tameya. I'm like this is weird. Taha maisa de matzik hayasa acher shekavruhu. That this matzik is already after he buried the nafel. Kamavor b'gemora sham shehetilu hanefel labor v'havei ka'acher stimus agolo. So the Aruch HaShulchan is saying the Gemara doesn't make any sense because it's also for sure once you have the stimus hagoylel, it's also to be metame to any mace. So how could this be a din of shelo l'tzorich? You can't prove anything from here because the way that the Aruch HaShulchan is learning is that the throwing the nafel into the bore is the stimus agolel. That's just the stimus agolel. He's already buried. Therefore, no one's allowed to be mitame to him, even a korov. Him came lo pligi el hacha del hach des smachus. Therefore, it's exactly the same as the smachus, and therefore he's tamid. V'zeh shekasu sham she'ein l'tamid rak l'tzorach hameis vadai kenhu. Because it's only l'tzorach hameis once it's yistam agolel. Ahinu kol zman she'oisek b'tzorach hameis. So that's whenever you're in the needs of the mace. V'od shekavar be'arnu b'sivav the Iker mitzvah satayra lo yitamehu avshi yachol lekorvo below tuma. So even if you the Iker the mitzvah is don't be mitame. Even if you're able to bury him without tuma mamish v'yotim izeh tumohim divrei Rabbeinu Ramah. It says that this far achroina asr lemitame lo kedei shelo yitoba b'zoyin. V'rei ein lo tzarach chameis gadol mizeh. So this is the sort of what's he saying that only according to the second one you're not allowed to do b'zoyin. Like that's tzarach chameis. That's who hatla b'zoyin ein katzarach gavura v'tzarachian. So he basically calls it tzarachian in this whole thing. But you have to ask the question: is throwing a nafel into the bore, is that like stimus agolo? Zohar in one way it's not, because there is no stimus agolo. Another way it is, because the stimus agolo basically is that like this is the end of, like this is where the mace is going. You put the mace, and he's in the Aron. You do the vadai, you run around the whole of Jerusalem with the mace and the levaya, and then you put him in this piece of ground, and then bang, once you seal him up, that's it. You're there forever now, until Mashiach comes. So by throwing the nafel into the bore, that's it. You're done. He's not going anywhere now, and the only people that's going to touch him are the bordulus and the choldas. So therefore, we can say it is called the tzimus agola, but then the tzimus agola is saying that really can't. This whole din, this whole chumrah, it says Yore Shulchan. There's no real. He's not proven from there. Tosfos is saying that you can only have it l'tzorach hameis because it's tzimus agola. That's how the Aruch HaShulchan is learning the Gemara there, which the Gro says that's the only makor. So this Tosfos here, this is brought up if you go into that Indian. This Tosfos is the makor. This whole din as to whether a cohen is allowed to mitame shelo tzorach.